Yes, the Philadelphia 76ers find a way to beat the Boston Celtics 102-100. Another just classic third quarter collapse by the Sixers. The first half of the game was a snooze fest. The second half turned into a straight up dog fight. Justin Edwards just went nuts in the fourth quarter somehow. The referees tried to mail it in. I mean, just a lot of ridiculous things happened in this game, and I'm going to cover all of it. Thank you for being here. I want to hear from you on the Discord also. So jump in the Discord. Link is pinned at the top of the chat. Call me. Get your voice in front of thousands of 76ers fans. Let's go.
Sixers, why won't you just lose and put me out of my misery? Why do you gotta keep doing this to me, bro? Nobody else should touch the ball right here. He shoots it from the logo. Oh, we're going to overtime! Maxey is a god amongst men!
Welcome back to Run It Back Philly. Sixers post-game live presented to you by Bright Medical Technology of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That was a wild one. I can't believe the Sixers pulled it out. Before I get into everything I want to say, I got to tell you about Bright Medical. The Sixers, I wouldn't call it an immaculate performance tonight, but they got the job done. If you have been struggling to get the job done, you need to call Bright Medical, because Bright Medical offers generic Viagra, Sildenafil, and Cialis, Tadalafil, 30 tablets for $40 delivered to your door. This is the lowest cost in the area. All you need to do is call 215-725-MEDS. That's 215-725-6337. When you call, mention Run It Back Philly, and you'll get 10% off your first month's supply. Don't come up short like the Boston Celtics just did. Get it done like the Sixers did by calling Bright Medical. Bright Medical is Philadelphia's largest medical supply company, and they have solutions for everyone from all ages, infants to seniors. A family-owned business in Philadelphia, PA. They take all calls in-house, no automated call system, and speak 9 languages. Thank you to Bright Medical for sponsoring the post-game live show. 200 people in here. Sicko Nation, do me a favor, hit the like button. If you're brand new, subscribe. We do post-game shows after every single 76ers game, news updates and other videos, and we do live streams every single game. And listen to us on podcast platforms. The audio version of the show is absolutely blowing up. We did 15,000 downloads last month. Thank every one of you who listens to me on podcast platforms. Okay, what's the first thing I want to say? Let's just get this right out of the way. Let's just get this right out of the way. Somebody paid the refs in the fourth quarter. Somebody. I mean, bro, whoa. All this NBA investigation stuff, all this sports betting, all this. Somebody needs to explain to me how what just happened in the fourth quarter with the officials was not rigged. These officials need to be investigated for what they did in that fourth quarter, because that was blatant. Blatant. Now, look, we all know Jason Tatum's the king of the push-off, right? And we all know Jaylen Brown got it from Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown's go-to move is also a push-off, right? And if you're going to sneak it in there, it's one thing. But we're seeing just blatant drive into a guy, throw a forearm, and not only do they not call it an offensive foul, they call it a defensive foul. It happened so many times in that fourth quarter. The the first quarter, I thought there was calls that got the Celtics back into the game when the Sixers were up. But those push-offs in the fourth were unreal, and the fact that the officials kept calling it a defensive foul is embarrassing. NBA, how are your officials this bad at their job? Every year I see this stuff, bro. I need to know. There was a Peyton Pritchard push-off that wasn't even a forearm. He just shoved him with his hand. You could see it from space, dude. And they didn't call it, and they called it out of bounds. Then Neemias Queta tackles Kelly Oubre. No call, out of bounds on the Sixers. Jaylen Brown, push off on Kelly Oubre. Obvious as hell, no call. Then another one on Kelly Oubre. This time he didn't even push off. He just lowered his shoulder right into his chest. Knocked him into the front row. And they called it a defensive foul. Oh, we're not done. We're not done. Jaylen Brown at half court. Maxey reaching for a steal. Jaylen Brown forearm to the chest. Maxey clean steal. Called a foul. Oh, we're not done. Challenged by Nick Nurse. Viewed by NBA officials in super slow motion. A forearm to the chest of the defender as the defender swipes the ball clean. They watched it in 8K in slow motion. And guess what? They said the call stands, defensive foul. There's no explanation for that. There's no explanation for that. There's no explanation for that. Investigate those referees. Investigate those referees. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Anyway, the 76ers somehow still found a way to win the game. So joke's on you, Boston Celtics, and joke's on you, Boston Celtics referees. And you guys know I don't come on a post-game live show yelling about referees, but that was so obvious. So obvious. And the Celtics still lost the game. So take that. The second thing I want to say is the Justin Edwards game. The Justin Edwards game, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to go over here, and I want to show you, if you didn't watch the game, I mean, you're here because you watched the game, but if you're listening back on podcast platforms or you're watching back on the stream replay on YouTube, I want to show you what Justin Edwards did at the end of this game because it was ridiculous. Now, once again, 76ers go into the third quarter and completely fall apart. And we're going to talk about that too, okay? But when they do that, and then they go into the fourth, and the offense is stagnant again, right? Nick Nurse is running these lineups of no point guard on the floor. I don't know what's up with no Jared McCain in the second half. We're going to get into that too. But in the second half, when they're struggling to generate offense, you need that one guy. Who's that role player that's going to step up? And Justin Edwards just went absolutely bonkers in the fourth quarter. And there was just a couple of games ago, we were struggling in the second or the third, I believe, and Justin Edwards hit back-to-back threes to spark us, to give us a little bit of life, to keep us afloat when we were very obviously drowning. Sixers, once again, drowning, whole third quarter. In the fourth quarter, trying to stay afloat, Justin Edwards just went bonkers. In the fourth, here's what Justin Edwards did. With 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, he pulls up on a fast break. I think that was an assist by VJ Edgecombe right there. VJ hit him on the left wing, Justin Edwards 3. And we were struggling. We were down by 5 at that point. He makes it 92-90. That was after he had the fast break dunk off of a steal. He had a 28-foot three in the fourth quarter. I wish these were in order. These are not in order. And he had another three to take the lead to put the Sixers up by 1. Basically, the 76ers were down 5 or 6. It wasn't looking great. And Justin Edwards, a steal, a 3, another 3 to make it a 2-point game, and another 3 to put the Sixers up by 1. Justin Edwards, the player of the game. There's no question about it. Without that run that Justin Edwards made in that fourth quarter, the 76ers lose this game. And then the referees don't even have to try to fix it because the Sixers would have already lost. The referees saw Justin Edwards do what he did, and they said, we got to put a stop to this. And they failed at that anyway. He scored 9 straight for the Sixers. Back-to-back-to-back threes to put them up 1. Shout out Justin Edwards, player of the game. A ridiculous fourth quarter run. And I'm very, very happy for him, man, because undrafted out of Kentucky. Had some games last year where he looked great. He averaged 15 points per game last season at the last 20 games of the season when the Sixers were tanking. And then in the summer league in the preseason this year, he didn't look good. And in the first couple games of the season, he didn't look good. I do want to shout out Nick Nurse for continuing to give him a chance, even though two games ago he was DNP'd for Eric Gordon for some reason. So shout out Justin Edwards. He gets DNP'd last game after there was some games this season where I think he gave us a spark when we needed one. Nick Nurse DNP's him for Eric Gordon last game. Justin Edwards finally gets another shot tonight and just makes the most of it, man. And then he got the 3-point attempt from the top of the key with 3 seconds left, 5-6 seconds left. Maxey kicked it out wide open. He missed that one. Would have loved for him to hit that one. He missed it. Kelly Oubre, the big offensive rebound. Boom. Sixers up 2. And then Derek White has to chuck a long one because Andre Drummond stripped the ball away from him. And Derek White was yelling at the officials even after that one. Like, you didn't just get 7 straight ridiculous calls. You thought they were going to give you another one. This is the Celtics, bro. The Celtics, and it just happens to be the same town. They just remind me of the new Tom Brady era New England Patriots. They just like the way they talk to the officials, the way I've always felt like this about them, even before they won the championship last year, 2 years ago. I've always felt like this about the Celtics, about Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and these guys. They talk to the officials like they are Michael Jordan and the 96 Bulls. Like, they roll out the red carpet for me. We are the Boston Celtics. You need to call these calls for us. Like, I just can't stand the way they talk to the officials. Every game, all game long. This game, the officials did it for him, but even at the end, Derek White wanted another one. I wish I could be objective because, the bigger this YouTube channel gets and the podcast gets, it becomes more and more of an NBA show. And I wish I could be objective and say good things about the Boston Celtics. I fucking hate the Boston Celtics. I hate them so much. I hate the Boston Celtics so much in so many different ways. This is why I can't be on an NBA podcast. I can't do that. I can't be like, hey, let's cover the Boston Celtics, man. What do you think about the Boston Celtics, what they did this offseason? The Boston Celtics. That's what I think. I can't cover the Knicks either because I would do the same thing. All right, one of my monitors turned off. So we're going to run the rest of the show with one monitor because I don't know what's happening. Loose HDMI cable or something. But anyway, what do you guys got in the chat, man? Shout out to you guys in the chat. Lakers and Celtics can do whatever. The push-offs, it was insane. It was insane. Yo, DJ, look at the chat, bro. In real, they're hating on you. What does that mean? The chat's hating on me? I don't care. Are they Celtics fans? Boo! Thanks for being here. Almost 500 people in the stream. If you are Celtics fans that are hating on me, thank you so much for being here. You are helping out the show. Shams Paul George update. No thanks. My heart can't take these close games against the Celtics. Dude, it's been a lot, bro. It's been a lot of, not just against the Celtics, man. We've had so many close games this season. And I'm not complaining about it. I'm loving it. Last season was such a drag. It was so hard to watch. It sucked. This season, whether it turns out good or bad, it has at least been exciting so far this season. Now, we got to talk about the Sixers' third quarter again. All right? Because the 76ers are, at least before this game, they were the best second quarter team in the NBA. They were the best fourth quarter team in the NBA. Somehow, simultaneously, they have pulled off the unthinkable feat of being the best second and fourth quarter team in the NBA and the worst third quarter team in the NBA. And we got to talk about another third quarter because the Sixers were up by 10 at halftime. And look at the third quarter. How does this happen? For those listening, they lost the third quarter 36-20. They won the first quarter 23-22. They won the second quarter 28-19. I was saying the Boston Celtics stink after that second quarter, and I said I want this game to be a blowout. I was also saying that I knew Derek White was going to go nuts in the second half because every time Derek White has a bad first half against the 76ers, he turns into 2016 Steph Curry. It's just what he does. Derek White had a ridiculous third quarter. Anthony Simons had a ridiculous fourth quarter. But this third quarter we got to talk about because you won the first by 1. You won the second quarter 28-19. You're up by 10 at halftime. And you come out in the second half, and the Celtics start the third quarter on an 8-0 run. It's immediate, bro. Every third quarter. And they don't run any sets. I can't figure it out, Nick Nurse. How do you go into the locker room every game and come out in the second half with no plan every single game? Every third quarter, you look like a team that has never practiced together, that has no sets to run, that can't generate anything offensively. It's just pass the ball around the perimeter like a hot potato until somebody decides to try to ISO score. It blows my mind, and it continues to happen. Now, here's the thing. The beginning of that third quarter was with Tyrese Maxey at point guard. I was yelling, we need Jared McCain to come back in this game. Nick Nurse does not put Jared McCain back in the game. He runs the second lineup with Quentin Grimes. And Quentin Grimes had a pretty clutch 5-point stretch at I think at the end of the third or maybe the beginning of the fourth. But Quentin Grimes has been pretty bad in his last 3-4 games, especially with the turnovers. Quentin Grimes he's averaging like 4 turnovers a game in his last 4, and they're always turnovers at the wrong time, and they just take the air out of the sails. They just take the energy out of the arena. They just kill the run that we're on. Quentin Grimes did it again at the end of the third. It was really bad, and Quentin Grimes isn't a point guard. And that's probably going to be my biggest issue with this team moving forward this season, is that they need Jared McCain so bad because they don't have a backup point guard. They signed Kyle Lowry because him and Nick Nurse are friends. They were just like, should we Jared Butler? Should we go get, I don't know, trade Tyus Jones or some other? No, point guard. We're signing Kyle Lowry with the last roster spot. That's my boy. So you're seeing it in the end of the third quarter. That lineup could not generate any offense because they don't have a point guard. And Grimes was really bad. And then I thought, all right, he's going to bring Jared McCain in the fourth to run the second unit offense because you can't do the same thing you did. Nope, comes out the fourth, guess what? Same thing. Or there was a timeout same thing to start the fourth because he waited till 8 or 9 minutes to bring Maxey back in, which I understand that. But that second unit needs a point guard so bad, it has to be Jared McCain. I've been saying it since I saw his first couple of games in the NBA last year. He's a natural point guard. He brings order to the team, especially in the half court. He's a generator. He's a facilitator. You need Jared McCain out there. I don't know if it's still because he's on a minutes restriction or whatever, but they didn't bring Jared McCain back in the second half, and it pissed me right off because every time Maxey went off the floor, there's no offense whatsoever. And that brings me to my next point, VJ Edgecombe. What's happening? And I'm not talking to VJ Edgecombe when I say this because he's a 20-year-old rookie. He's playing like a rookie. I expected him to have ups and downs throughout the season. Of course he's going to play like a rookie. He's 20 years old. My problem is, how was he so involved in the game the first couple games of the season? And how is he now not involved in the game at all? At all. They don't run a play to get him going downhill. They don't run a pick and pop. They don't run something to get him cutting back door. They run nothing for VJ Edgecombe. I don't understand it. And not just is he not involved in the game plan, because I'm never sure if there's actually a game plan anyway. What happened to his confidence? Nick Nurse, what are you doing to his confidence? You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of those Doc Rivers years where when there was no plan, they looked really good. And then Doc would come back when Joel and everybody came back, Joel and James Harden or whoever it was, and then he would instill this, all right, the ball has to go here, and then the ball has to go here, and then the players that were playing well when there was no plan disappeared again. That's what this reminds me of. First game of the season, VJ was unleashed. He was unleashed. He had the ultimate green light. He put up 26 field goal attempts in the first game of the season. He had the green light. And now he suddenly has a red light, and he's suddenly stopping to bring it back out and give it to someone else. And I'm starting to feel like the coach is telling him to do this. I'm starting to feel like somebody said something to him that changed the way he attacks because he's not attacking. I don't know what happened, but he's not attacking. He's not driving to the rim. He used to the first couple games of the season, he was just running at people, Euro step in the lane, all this, and now his confidence is completely gone, and I'm blaming the coaching staff for that as well. Because that's what I do here on Run It Back Philly. I blame the coach all the time. But yeah, they need Jared McCain. They didn't bring him back in the second half. That second unit lineup, with VJ being not confident and Quentin Grimes not being able to dribble a basketball for some reason, that second unit was horrible. And Maxey came back in the fourth, restored order. Shout out to Tyrese again. He has evolved into a player who can actually slow the game down and settle everybody down and get the momentum back by stopping the bleeding, by being aggressive, being physical, drawing fouls. That was never part of Tyrese Maxey's game in his young career. This year, I'm seeing that from Tyrese Maxey. Change of speed, really creating contact, really absorbing contact, really making it obvious to officials that you got fouled, and he's getting the calls. And again, in the fourth quarter, when after the third quarter, when the Sixers could have laid down and died, and there was just chaos, there was no order, it looked like a free-for-all, Maxey started attacking, generating contact, going to the free throw line, and that was part of the way the 76ers turned it around and survived this game. And then Justin Edwards' run in the fourth quarter was just incredible. And the Kelly Oubre offensive rebound, I mean, that won the game down there. And Kelly Oubre didn't have a great game, but the Kelly Oubre offensive rebound, that won the game down there too, because off of the Justin Edwards miss, Celtics slip up, nobody boxes out, Kelly puts it in, that ends up being the game winner. And shout out to the defense on the final possession, 3 seconds to go. I knew the Celtics were going to try to get it to Derek White because it's just Derek White. If he would have got a good look, I guarantee you he would have swished that mother effer. But shout out to Andre Drummond for the tough defense there. Swipes the ball away from Derek White. He gets it back somehow and has to chuck a, falling to the side, heave at the buzzer, which I still felt like was about to go in. And it didn't go in. But I got shout out the Sixers, man, because again, last season they laid down and died so many times. And this season, whether it's good or bad, whether they have good shooting nights, bad shooting nights, whether they have turnovers, whether they have communication issues, whether some of the lineups can't generate any offense, whether they have defensive issues, I can't question their effort this season. This team is a team full of fighters this season. And another game this was where they could have laid down and died. They blew up the third quarter. They absolutely sucked in the third quarter. They could have hung their heads. They could have said, this is over, and they could have went into the fourth quarter with some negative energy and lost the game, and they just refused to give up, this team does. And I'm believing that it's mostly because of Tyrese Maxey. I think Tyrese Maxey is the leader of this team. I think Tyrese Maxey is the locker room leader. He called out Joel Embiid last year for being late to team meetings and stuff. And so I think Tyrese Maxey is rebuilding a winning culture with this team because I think Tyrese Maxey has set a standard for the players on this team. I think Tyrese Maxey is expecting a level of effort from everybody, and I think he's being vocal about it in the locker room, on the court, and it's showing. Every single player on this team tries their heart out and refuses to give up. And I'm crediting Tyrese Maxey for that. I think that's all I wanted to rant about on this game. Let me see if I can bring up the Discord because my other monitor turned off. All right, I got it right here. My chat disappeared too because my other monitor turned off. Hey, look, DJ Eastwood, man, he gets one technical difficulty fixed and 2 more pop up, right? I just bought a brand new camera. Shout out to that. We got no more camera freezes. We're running smooth 1080p on the camera with no freezes. And now I'm getting out my other monitor turns off. Anyway. Well, speaking of that, before I get to, and I see 3 people in the Discord. Thank you so much for coming through, and I'm going to get to your calls. I want to say this. Speaking of my technical difficulties, the NBC broadcast was one of the worst things I've ever seen. And you pay billions of dollars to play NBA games, and you got a blue flashing screen the whole time, and then the stream starts freezing. I got 1,000 megabyte Ethernet up here. There's no reason my stream should be freezing. It's freezing. So I go back over to YouTube TV, and guess what? Perfect stream over on YouTube TV. So what's up? What's up, NBC? What's up, Peacock? Your streaming is trash. Get it together. That's all I wanted to say. So it's not just me with the technical difficulties. You guys that come in here trying to roast me. The professionals can't even get it right. Prime Video broadcasts have been awesome. Yes, absolutely. We got Cisco on the Discord. I saw you in here first, man. Cisco's been in there since the stream started. What up, Cisco 215?
Prime Video. Awesome. Yes, absolutely.
Yo, Cisco 215. Cisco, you got to turn the volume off in the background. Cisco, you got to turn the volume off in the background, bro. You almost blew my eardrums out, man. We're going to go to Big Al while Cisco turns the volume off in the background. Big Al, what's going on? Yo, Big Al on the Discord. Big Al's mic is muted. Big Al going once. Big Al going twice. Are we striking out on the Discord calls? We're going to go back to Cisco, see if he turned the volume off in the back. Cisco 215. Cisco 215 on the Discord.
What's going on? Hey, my bad for the volume in the background.
It's all good, man. What's up, bro? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good, especially after a Sixers victory. Feels amazing.
Yeah, man. Where are you calling from? You driving or something?
Yeah, man. I'm driving. You know, just making that money, man. Trying to make that move.
Oh, thanks for calling, bro. What you got, man? What you got?
I got the Maxey, man, being the glue of this team, man. Like you said, your whole message, like he's creating a new culture. He's the glue, and he's holding these guys accountable. And I see a different team compared to last year, man. It's amazing to see a young player actually like lead by example, and you know it's in his teammates like that confidence, and like you're looking at our best player, and he's like not giving up. He's encouraging us. He's fighting with us. He's in battle with us, and he's not hanging his head. And you know, you got other guys like Justin Edwards, Quentin Grimes stepping up, hitting clutch shots, and I'm just like, okay, we got something here with this guy. Like he's really that cool.
That's a winning. That's a real winning mentality, you know. And I don't mean to use this to talk about Joel Embiid in a negative light, but I do want to ask you and the chat, like, do you feel like Maxey is demanding something out of the players on this team that Joel Embiid's not a vocal guy, you know? I don't feel like Joel Embiid ever really demanded things out of his team. I feel like Joel was always just like, I'm going to do what I can do, and if everybody else doesn't step up, they just don't step up, you know? I feel like Maxey's taking that step forward of being the vocal leader that Joel Embiid never really was. Do you think that's right?
I'm 100% agreeing with you on that. I feel like he's definitely a vocal leader. He started that last year when he called out the highest paid guy on the team that's been the cornerstone of this franchise since Ben Simmons, and he's seeing how he's like his tardiness and how guys are like, well, if he's the big guy around here and he don't care, then we don't care.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's how it happens,
like,
man.
Maxey's like, I'm young and I'm hungry. I want to win. I've been winning since I've been in high school, college, and I look at you and it's like you done gave up on your crew.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. Yo, you got anything else for me, Cisco?
Nah, that's pretty much it, man.
All right, brother. Yeah.
You taking my call, my guy.
Thank you so much
Keep
for
up the great
calling,
work.
man.
Love the content.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Safe travels out there, my man. Take it easy. Shout out to Cisco 215, whipping the truck on the highway, listening to the show, and says, I'm calling the show. Be safe out there, my man. Mets 2128 on the Discord. Yo, Mets like New York Mets?
Hello.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Not much.
What's up? What's up, man?
Anyway,
What?
not much. I mean, I only managed to. I'm also a Knicks fan, to be fair, but I caught the last 7 or 8 minutes of this game between Philadelphia and Boston, and I'm going to say it, albeit grudgingly, Philadelphia has a shot of actually getting far this year. But I'm not sure if you can really do it by having Maxey and Edgecombe carry the team on their backs. I mean, don't get me wrong. Edgecombe has been a bit of a surprise to start the year for the 76ers.
Yeah. Well, no, you can't do it. No, Edgecombe's 20 years old, and the last couple of games he's reverted back into really, playing like an inexperienced rookie. And so, I love his potential and everything, but no, you're obviously not gonna go win a championship with 20-year-old VJ Edgecombe as one of your main offensive creators this season. I completely agree with you. They're not gonna get the Sixers are fun. They play hard. They play with a lot of energy. Like I said, Maxey, I think, is becoming a great leader. But they got 2 max contracts that aren't playing. And you're just not going to win anything when you got $100 million of 2 guys sitting on the bench. Left knee, right knee soreness, left knee soreness, pinky sprain, all. It's just, they're never going to win anything until they get off of these contracts, man. That's where I'm at with it. I like the way they're playing, and I like this new era that I think Tyrese Maxey's instilling, but the Joel Embiid and Paul George era can't stay on the court. They need to find a way to get out of there. That's how I feel about it.
I mean, I gotta agree with that. I mean, at best, I could see them making it to round 1 this year, if that. And that's only if those 2 clowns even bother to stay healthy. The way it's going, not happening.
You're a Knicks fan. You're a Knicks fan, you say? Well, hey, man, thanks for calling the show even as a Knicks fan, man, and thank you. I appreciate it, man.
I'm being honest about it.
All right, man. Mets 2128 on the Discord. Shout out to a respectful Knicks fan. I appreciate that, man. When he said he's a Knicks fan, I thought he was about to troll. I thought he was about to, but he said that he doesn't want to say it, but he has to say that the Sixers are playing hard and they look like they could go far this year. Now, look, the Eastern Conference isn't something to write home about, and so I feel like the Sixers, even if Paul George and Joel Embiid never get on the floor, and I think Joel's going to come back. I think his right knee is sore because he's compensating for the left knee, and it's just something that also is going to take time. One time I threw out my back deadlifting back in the day, and I went to a chiropractor who adjusted me, and the next day my left ankle was swollen. And I was like, what is happening? And I went back in there, and he was like, yeah, it's because you sprained your left ankle 8 times throughout your life, but you were compensating the left side because your back was out of line, and so weight distribution. And so that's just, I think, an example that I always bring up of my random swollen left ankle when I got my back adjusted because of body weight distribution. And that's all that's happening with Joel Embiid's right knee, is that his body's compensating for the left knee, and I don't think it's probably a big deal. Hopefully it's not a big deal. So I think Joel Embiid will ramp up. It's just going to take until February 17th for him to be fully ramped up. I honestly think that. But I am happy that the 76ers can survive games this season without Joel Embiid. That was the thing they couldn't do last season. They couldn't do it. They couldn't survive games at all. They couldn't compete with anybody. Part of it was because they had lineups of Eric Gordon, Kyle Lowry, and Reggie Jackson out there, which is just laughable. I mean, how would any NBA GM or coach think that that's going to work in a game that's a young man's game, getting run off the floor by a bunch of 18-year-olds? It's not rocket science. So Daryl Morey goes into this offseason and says, well, everything I did last season was very stupid. Let me go get some shooters, some ball handlers who are under the age of 30. Let me go get some forwards who can rebound and defend and have some versatility. And now Daryl Morey's looked at as a genius, but I want to tell you guys, it's really not that complicated. I'm being serious when I say this. I feel like so many people get into these positions as GMs of professional sports teams, and everybody thinks they're a genius, and I just don't really think it's that complicated. I don't. Now, Howie Roseman, I think, is a genius. He consistently fleeces the entire NFL. But outside of that, a lot of these dudes are just regular dudes, and a lot of them are bad at their job. Look at the Kings right now. Any casual NBA fan knew that the Sacramento Kings roster was never going to work. And then they add Russell Westbrook on top of that. And now 2 weeks into the season, there's already rumors that they're going to have a fire sale at the trade deadline. A 12-year-old who plays 2K would have never put that roster together. And you have professional general managers doing this stuff. So what I'm saying is, I don't think this roster that Daryl Morey built makes him a genius. I think the roster he built last year makes him a moron. And then he just did a very common sense thing this offseason. Although he has been great at drafting. I'll give him that. But even with drafting, he admitted he's using AI models, so I might just credit the AI models for Daryl Morey's drafting at the same time. Let's go over to Twitter, see if the Twitter reporters are saying anything, and we'll just hang out and read the chat. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for hanging out. 444 people in here on a late one. It's 11:16 p.m. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify the next day, do me a huge favor, leave a review on the show. The Spotify and the Apple Podcasts and Spotify numbers have been shooting through the roof. We're about to hit 20,000 downloads in a month, and the thing about podcasts is I don't actually hear from the fans. You know, it's not like I can read the chat like I can on YouTube. So I feel like there's like 20,000 silent people listening to me on podcasts and downloading the show every day, and I don't get to hear from you. So leave me a review if you listen to the show on Apple Podcasts. What do we got in the chat, man? Let's see. Why is no one asking Daryl Morey why he signed Embiid to an extension with an obvious need? They actually did ask him that last season, and it came out several times that it was a collective decision, and that they knew Joel Embiid's knee wasn't healthy, but they felt like they could get it healthy, and they asked doctors, and that it was a collective decision. That's just what they said. So it wasn't Daryl Morey acting on his own. It was owners. It was everybody. Congrats on 30,000. Thank you so much for 30,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. We got to send Bona to the Dream this offseason and see if Shaq does any training. Adem Bona can't catch a ball, man. Adem Bona has Nelson Aguilar hands. That's what he has, bro. He can't catch a ball. You throw him a lob, it's going right through his hands. You throw him a pass, backdoor, through his hands. He even gets a steal and he can't pick up the ball. I don't know. Adem Bona looks like he plays basketball with bald fists like this. He looks like he's out there, you know, like trying to catch the ball. Like open your hands, bro. Open your hands. Who would the Sixers give up for Sabonis? Yeah, somebody said this already. Look, unless you're moving on from Joel Embiid, you're not trading for Domantas Sabonis. Because Domantas Sabonis is a starting center in the NBA. He's not a backup center. And Joel Embiid's going to play. And Domantas Sabonis is not going to be a 10-minute off the bench backup center at this point of his career. He's still very, very good. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think coming back that there's just a lid on the rim, dude. Like, he just can't actually make a shot yet. But as far as handling the ball and creating the offense, especially when the Sixers are sputtering out and not doing anything, I think Jared McCain's been great. And I don't know why Nick Nurse didn't bring him in the third quarter when there was no offense and they were collapsing and Quentin Grimes was dropping the ball all over the place. I don't know why he didn't play Jared McCain in the second half, man. I have no idea. No idea. Let's go to Twitter. Let's read the Sixers official page on Twitter and some Sixers reporters, and then we will get out of here. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, man. These post-game live shows have been a blast. Win, lose, or draw, we are here after every single game. And my browser froze. Dude, we're having the sickest time with technology tonight, man. All right. Google Chrome completely froze. Am I still live on YouTube? Hopefully. Okay, we got it back. Nick Nurse on Justin Edwards. I love him. I don't worry about him. He works extremely hard. He's not perfect, but he's a really good developing young player that I love. When he has a bad game, it doesn't even faze me because I love him. I love that about Nick Nurse. And again, I credited Nick Nurse. Even though I was mad that Nick Nurse DNP'd Justin Edwards last game to play his friend Eric Gordon for 6 minutes, I do love how much Nick Nurse is willing to give young players a chance. This season, anyway. I'm saying that like I've always thought that about Nick Nurse, but actually last season he was the complete opposite. Last season, I was yelling, "Where's Justin Edwards?" the whole first 2 months of the season. He wouldn't put him in the game. Kept running Eric Gordon out there. Kept running 3-guard lineups with Reggie Jackson and Kyle Lowry. And so this season, Nick Nurse is willing to give young players a chance. And look how the 76ers are playing. Again, not rocket science. Not rocket science at all. Nick Nurse on VJ Edgecombe. I believe in him, which is why I leave him out there in the fourth quarter of a close game. He needs to be out there and learn this stuff. I like that too. I believe in a young player, working out the kinks and learning the game. But also, tell him what to do. You know? Yeah, like the way that he said, that's why I leave him out there. Yeah, it looks like you leave him out there and you don't say anything. You just let him completely collapse. You let him lose all of his confidence. You let him tell him to attack. I don't think Nick Nurse is telling VJ Edgecombe anything. Tell him to attack, man. He's being too timid, man. An update on Joel Embiid's knee, his right knee. There is no structural issues with his right knee, and he is listed day to day. So, Joel, day to day, Embiid is back, ladies and gentlemen. Joel, day-to-day Embiid. Here we go. We're never going to know when he's going to play again. Strap in, guys. Strap in. Nick Nurse declined to rule out Joel Embiid or Paul George for Friday night's game against Detroit. I'll tell you. Nick, you don't have to. I will, okay? You don't have to be a genius to figure out Joel Embiid and Paul George aren't playing on Friday. I'll bet money on that. What else we got? These are all Nick Nurse quotes. Joel Embiid knee update. Paul George met with doctors tonight, per the Sixers. The final stage of his return to play plan. Why do the 76ers treat a player coming back like, bro, it's just insane. Final stage of return to play plan. Involves continued strengthening of his left quadricep, which will be managed through a strength and conditioning program and on-court activities. He ain't playing. Paul George ain't playing. He ain't playing. He had arthroscopic surgery to remove fluid from his knee 7 months ago. There was no ligament damage or anything in his knee 7 months ago. Typical recovery for that is 8 to 10 weeks. 12 weeks max. Most NBA players come back from that from 12 weeks. It's been 21 weeks. And we're talking about strengthening the left quadricep. That's what we're talking about. Paul George ain't playing. He's getting $50 million PTO this season. He's legitimately going to the rec center and getting a workout every day for $1 million a week. That is what Paul George is doing. So there's some Paul George updates there. Anyone have anything else here? Shams said the same thing about Paul George. I think I said everything I wanted to say about the game, man. You guys got anything else in the chat, man? What do we got? What do we got, man? They made PG sound like he was a week away 2 months ago. Exactly, and there's videos of him practicing over a month ago. Full-on practice. So what are we talking about strengthening the left quadrant? I don't care anymore. I don't care. I don't care if Paul George ever plays for the Sixers again. I don't care. I don't need him to play for the Sixers again. I never actually wanted him to play for the Sixers again. I was calling him the Tobias Harris of Jason Tatum's before they ever signed him. I have a video that's literally titled, "Are the Sixers about to make a huge mistake?" I did not want them to sign Paul George. Once they signed him, I bought into it. I told myself he could be good for this reason and that reason. I said he's not a star anymore, but he could be a high-level third option because he's still a good shooter and a good defender. And look what happened. So I don't care anymore. I never wanted Paul George to play in Philly. Paul George never wanted to play in Philly. I would literally be happy if the 76ers are holding him out to trade him. I would be ecstatic if Paul George never puts the 76ers jersey back on. That's how I feel about Paul George. Podcast P. We don't have anyone strong enough to drive to the hoop to dump it to do these drives that Brown can do with Boston. Maxey's too small. Everyone else does not drive to the hoop like Embiid used to. Well, Jaylen Brown's a little bit of an anomaly because he's 6'8", 230. You know, you don't find those type of NBA players every day. That's why Jaylen Brown, even though, you know, his bag is questionable and can he really lead a team, I don't know, but he got paid what he got paid because of that. The Sixers don't have a player like Jaylen Brown. Of course they don't. VJ should be more aggressive driving to the rim. VJ should be more aggressive driving to the rim. We're now 7-0 when I watch your stream, and hey, RB's my guy, man. And RB consistently does better numbers than me on the play-by-plays. So shout out to RB for making that what he did, man. I started YouTube and I was doing some things and I started to see RB pop up just posting phone videos in his bedroom. He had a Phillies flag hanging behind him. And I hit him up and I said, "Bro, you're good, man. You're good. Keep doing it." And then, me and RB started collabing and stuff, and this was 5 years ago, So to see myself in RB, when you type in Sixers on Apple Podcasts or when you type in Sixers on YouTube, for me and RB to be the two top guys after, both of us legitimately just started posting phone videos 5-6 years ago. And that's my guy. We text all the time. We laugh about stupid comments. We laugh about everything. RB's my dude, man. And those that ask why we don't collab anymore, it's really because we both signed to different marketing agencies like 2 years ago. So, now all of my streams are sponsored by companies that are signed to a certain agency, and all of his streams are sponsored by companies that are signed to an agency. So it's really like we both kind of blew up a little bit, and now we really have a tough time collaborating because we have agreed to put specific sponsors on specific shows. You know what I mean? For anyone that was wondering, but RB's my dude, man. Yeah. That's all I got, man. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. This is the first stream with the brand new camera that I just bought. So those that have been watching me for a long time and know that I've had freezing issues with that old DSLR camera that's sitting back there on the table. This is a brand new Sony ZV-E10 with a Sigma 16mm f1.8 lens, in case you were wondering. And it is made for streaming. We just streamed the entire play-by-play and the post-game live. Not a single hiccup, not a stutter. Just perfectly clear from start to finish. I'm so happy I made the purchase. And so thank you for being here. And I bought the camera with money that I made on YouTube from you guys watching the show. So thank you so much for watching the show and listening on podcast platforms and everything. Sixers got a dub. We did a 52-minute post-game show. I'll call that a successful night, man. You guys enjoy yourselves, and I will see you very soon.